Hi, Phil. I'm Sarah from Your Coming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you. So, easy question first, just to
Yeah.
kick off. For people who don't know anything about malpractice, what can they expect?
Well, what can they expect? It's a medical thriller, and it is a thriller. It's a bit of a thrill ride. They can expect to go on twists and turns throughout the series, and all is not as it seems. Put it that way.
And the thing that really struck me about the series is just how it's sort of teeming with authenticity. So it wasn't a surprise to learn that the screenwriter Grace obviously had a background, as a medical doctor. But maybe even more, what was surprising is to know that some of the events were actually ones that she'd witnessed or she'd been through. So what did you think when you first picked up that script, and what stood out to you?
Well, it was an interesting one for me because I wasn't going to do it really because I was busy doing a movie at the top of last year, and I just thought I'm not going to have time to do this. And originally I was only supposed to. I got asked to do the first 2 episodes, I think it was, and I was like, look, I'll read it because I like to read everything that I get sent, because you never know. And case in point, I read it and I was like, holy crap, this is intense. This is amazing. Like, even though, I don't didn't really know. I mean, I don't know the medical world. I do a bit more now, but you could tell it was written by somebody who knew that world because it was so authentic. Even though a lot of the words I didn't understand, it didn't matter because I felt like I was in it. You know what I mean? I felt like I'd been thrown into this world, and I had to grip on, and I couldn't let go, and I couldn't stop turning the pages. That's always a sign that it's a good script. When you get to the end, you're like, oh wait, and so I called my agent. I was like, can you send me the other script? And they were like, they're not actually written yet. I was like, no. So I was like, right, let's have a chat with them. I definitely want to consider doing this one. And yeah, it was just amazing, an amazing experience, for me, because it's you sort of dive into that world as best you can, but you can never quite, you hope that you can sort of emulate that world as best you can, but what the medical staff in the NHS and around across the world are going through on a daily basis is just something that you would never ever imagine.
Mm. And
so it was amazing to portray it, to be able to show that shine a bit of a light on it.
And as you said there, even sort of understanding the jargon, never mind trying to bring realism to the aspects that you're going to show, actually, from the medical perspective. Did you have to go and do your own research? Did you have to go and be on a ward and see what that's like in real life? How did you kind of get to grips with this material and the subject matter?
Well, we asked production if I could go on a ward, and they wouldn't let me because we shot this. It was like top of last year, and COVID was still, it was still, people were still worried about people coming into hospitals and stuff like that, and so they wouldn't allow any visitors. However, we did get Neve in to do a shift in A&E, and she actually put on the scrubs, had a little badge on saying it said visitor in a tiny little writing. So she had all these junior doctors coming up to her, like asking her to sign things and stuff, and so she literally got thrown in the deep end, and she was shadowing this amazing consultant. But from my research, I had Grace, who was obviously, she wrote the script, and so she was there on hand for me whenever I wanted to speak to her about any of that sort of thing. But we also had a couple of other medical consultants that were literally sat next to me at the monitors every day, and so we would do the scene, we would rehearse the scene, and I would then consult with them and say, look, is that real? Can we get away with that? Can we do this? Can we do that? Even to the point of like, a machine, the sound of a machine, or what's showing on a machine, that kind of thing. They were so on it because, they're practicing, medical practitioners at the minute. They work still in the industry, so it's not like they just came to help us out. One of them was on maternity leave, so luckily we were able to get her. And so she was my rock, really, because we'd do a scene and then I would say, is that real? Like that was my thing. I must have said the word real a million times on that shoot because I wanted it to feel as real, you know. And so that was great. But I also watched probably all of 24 Hours at A&E, which is, you know, it was fantastic research for me.
And I mean, obviously, off the back of Boiling Point, we know you're no stranger to, you know, creating these kind of very tense, quite claustrophobic sort of environments on screen. And there's sort of a similar sense in this one. But, you know, how do you use the tools in your toolbox to achieve that as a director? And I know to some extent there's some like improvisation and kind of how you're using long lens and aspects like that. How do you achieve that?
Yeah, various different ways, really. I like to improvise around the script at times. You know, if I'm, you know, the scripts are solid for this. For Malpractice, they were solid scripts. They were fantastic. But you know, I think you can write a script and write dialogue to, you know, to a certain extent. But then when you get actors in playing that role, you know, everything can change in terms of like how they play it, how they portray it. And I think my job is as a director is most of my work is done in the prep with the actors because, you know, I talk extensively about like character and you know, everything about the character, the way they move, the way they walk, the way they talk, everything, you know. And so we do that. And then when we come to film it, you know, I like to do a couple of takes to the script so that we've got them. And then I'll do what I call going rogue. And I'll say to the actors, right, let's just go rogue and see what happens. And, you know, a lot of the time we get gold and it's, you know, it's just so real, those little nuances that they put in there. So that's how I like to work. And I think it's important to let the actors have a bit of freedom as well. I mean, you know, but you also have to, it's also my job to be able to choose actors who are able to do that because, you know, there's some actors and everyone's different. That's another part of my job is to understand actors. I used to be an actor, you know. I mean, I say used to. I've never like officially said I'm not doing it anymore because I do love it, but I just haven't had time to pursue it. But I think it's incredibly important for the trust to be there between the two of us from day one. And I have to, when I'm auditioning actors, I put them through the paces. You know what I mean? Because you know, I throw things at them that I don't literally throw things at them. I'm gonna get cancelled straight away on this. No, no, I just throw things at them so that they can like react to it, you know, in the moment. And you know, it's important that I can do that in the audition process so that I know that I can do that on the day with them. And yeah, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes the script is there, and you just say, "Okay, well, let's just do we'll do the script." But other times it's like, "Okay, what else can we like bleed out of this? You know, what else can we do? You know, like me and Neve are the same as like, right? Basically, she's just walking from there to there, or like walking into a room, and I'd be like, Neve, it's never just walking into a room, is it? You know what I mean? So there's always got to be purpose behind it.
And talking about your phenomenal cast, I mean, you seem to have assembled just such a perfect group of people for these characters, but particularly Neve. I mean, it's not an easy role. And you know, as the series goes on and it is kind of just keeps you on your toes in terms of the thriller aspects, the cat and mouse kind of aspects, but also her character. And, you know, it does call into question, you know, I mean, there are no sort of good guys and bad guys, and then your sympathies and your empathy is constantly shifting. So, you know, how did you bring this cast together, particularly working with Neve and on this incredible character?
Well, with Neve, you know, she was quite early on someone that we were really, really interested in this role because, you know, because of what she's done. I think she's just an incredible talent, and I was desperate to work with her. You know, and so we, you know, you go through the process of sending the script to the agent and then waiting to hear back, waiting for them to read it. And, you know, and then sometimes you're like, well, you know, maybe it's not for them or whatever. But with Neve, it was, I think we sent her the script and I think it was the next day she was like, yeah, I want to meet. So I think we met the next day after that. We met in town in London and I was like, you know, it's kind of nerve-wracking to me because obviously I go in there and I'm like, right, I'm going to pitch this series to her now, how I want to do it and how I'm going to shoot it and how we're going to work together, you know, and how I like to work and stuff like that. And I'm going to pitch it, and I had me pitch down ready to go. And she comes walking around the corner. And she's like, Bill, and she's like, we're doing this. We are doing this. I'm in. I'm all in. I was like, what? Oh, what? Hang on. What? So I don't need. So she's like, right, talk to me. Let's get prepping now. And I was like, well, okay, all right. So I knew then. I just knew then it was like, you know, it was a match made in heaven because we both had such like similar ideas, and you know, it was like that energy was there straight away from the off, you know. And she's such a powerhouse. She's just such a talent, like to work with. You know, she doesn't switch off in a way because you know she lives and breathes the character, and she's got, you know, some of her family in the medical profession as well. So she's had that, you know, it's kind of in her blood a little bit, and she wanted to do them proud. But sure, we all wanted to do, you know, our incredible NHS proud with this show because, you know, what they go through, like I say, on a daily basis is we just scratch the surface basically on our show.
On that note, you know, in terms of the themes that kind of, you know, arise from the show, and it does seem very timely thinking about the fact that, you know, junior doctors currently on strike. It's the idea of this pressure cooker, and you know, the fact that from the beginning you're almost set up to fail, yet because you're working with life and death situations and you are responsible for people's health, you know, you can't really fail. So it's an impossible task we're really setting people up to do. And then of course that was all exaggerated by the pandemic and reductions in funding. So, you know, what do you think? Of course it's got the thriller aspects, but then there's also some very sort of real everyday issues about our current NHS as well.
Well, the thing is, when we made this show, it was relevant then, but it's even more relevant now that it comes out, you know, because when we join this, you know, when we start the series, it's kind of like now, just, you know, sort of out of the back end of the pandemic sort of thing, you know, people are sort of going back to their normal, and you know, it touches on those struggles that they went through during that pandemic, and the after effect that's had on, you know, certainly Lucinda in terms of their mental health and things like that, but also, you know, everyone that we join in this cast have been, you know, you can tell they've been through something, you know what I mean? And it just, you know, I think it's relevant to not just the people in the medical profession, but everyone, you know, daily life. And that's what I'm always attracted to, is real, honest human stories, you know, about relatable stories that people can sort of, you know, I want people to come away from this and be like, you know, like, yeah, I completely understand that. Like, I you know, I know someone who's been through that, or, you know, or you also want to be, one minute you want to be rooting for Lucinda, but at the next time you want to be like, you know, jumping through the TV saying, no, don't do that, don't make that decision, no, my God, I wouldn't do that, you know. So that's what I mean by this roller coaster. It has these sort of ups and downs and twists and turns, and you know, but it's very believable, and you know, like what you said earlier, it's a lot of it is based on truth from Grace's experience of what she went through, and you know, not just what she went through, but what she's experienced with colleagues and friends and stuff like that. So it's not just all her life. She's not Lucinda, you know, but she certainly met Lucinda's, and we all have, to be honest. And even, you know, the consultant that Neve went and shadowed in A&E, some of the things that she was telling me afterwards was like, this is just Lucinda. Like, it literally is Lucinda, you know. So it's happening, and you know, we just have to be incredibly grateful for the NHS and for what they do, and I certainly am, and I think I hope this show does them proud, you know, even though it is a drama, but yeah, I think it's quite relevant.
And was there, you know, thinking of the intensity, at least of watching it, was there any moment on set that was particularly difficult, or on the flip side, did you have a real highlight?
Oh, I mean, this show, I mean, because you know, a lot of the things in this were new to me, like the medical procedures which you have to do. You know, there's a big one in episode 2. There's a couple of smaller ones as well. But like, you know, having to sort of having to sort of do that. But for me, I want to make everything feel real, right? And so, you know, so sometimes it would be questioned whether we'd be able to show things on ITV, but you know, luckily we are able to, and it was we got through that. But it was like, yeah, I mean, the highlights for me were just every day walking on that set, and just you were literally at A&E. You know, it smelt like A&E. It was, you know, it was weird. And I remember one time I it was during lunch and I was absolutely exhausted, so I went for a lie down on one of the beds in one of the cubicles because no one was on set. And I thought, oh, this is a perfect opportunity, and the beds are really comfy. And I just lay down there, and then like I woke up to like all this noise of people coming back from lunch, and the curtains were closed, and I was like, for a split second, I was like, oh my god, what's happened? You know, I literally thought I was in. It was weird. It was weird, but no, I had an amazing time working with all of the incredible cast and all the crew were just a wonderful bunch of people, you know. And you know, thanks to Grace for writing such an amazing script. I'm really grateful for to be able to, you know, bring them to life.
And I'm almost out of time, but just, you know, very quickly, if you could say a few words. I know you're adapting your Boiling Point film into a 5-part series. So kind of, you know, how's that process going? And also any other projects you might be working on?
Yeah, we've got, what day is it? We've got 3 days left on Boiling Point. And we are, I'll be done on that in a few days, and then I'll be in the edit on that. And then I've got several projects lined up, but the next one is, I can't really talk about it yet, but it is a movie, and I'll be starting prep on that towards the end of the year.
And is there a big difference, do you think, between film and TV in terms of, you know, from your perspective? Is it quite a different challenge? And, you know, what's the process of translating one into the other?
It is. I mean, look, TV and film now are quite, you know, similar in terms of like, you know, you've got big budgets for TV and things like that. But I think you know, I think with TV, for me, it's just an extended film. You just get more time to tell the stories. But I love film. Like that's the first thing I did, and I've always loved film. So I really want to do a film. I shot a movie at the top of last year, which is coming out this year at some point. And that is, it's just at a premiere at Overlook Film Festival in the US. And it's had a great response from there. And so it should be coming here soon at some point this year. But yeah, a film for me is great because I love to be able to, you know, put my stamp on it. And I think, you know, going forward with any TV that I sort of do, I want to be able to be across it from the ground up really, and be able to sort of, you know, not necessarily write it, but be there from the seed, as opposed to just coming on as a you know, a director for hire sort of thing, and to shoot a block. Even though Malpractice almost killed me in terms of doing 5 episodes, you know, if you'd asked me would I do that again like a week after we wrapped, I would have said absolutely not. Because I'm only doing I'm not doing all of Boiling Point. We've got another director doing that. Mooney Ackle is also doing that with me, but I would definitely do it again. Yeah, I would definitely do it again now. Yeah.
You must have been blown away as well by the response to Boiling Point. And what do you think it was that just really captured people's imagination about that? I mean, Stephen Graham at the center of it, particularly, and the format of it. But, you know, it must have been great to see the response and also have the opportunity to then work on it further.
Yeah, I mean, look, we made a short in 2018 to try and get me an agent, me and Stephen, and it just went from there. Like we you know, the response for the short was incredible. We were nominated for a BIFA award, and then we were like, okay, maybe we could turn this into a feature. So then I had the idea to sort of do the feature in one take, and you know, everyone then sort of jumped on board relatively quickly with that, and then you know, we didn't expect, you know, we shot it in March 2020. Everyone went into lockdown, and then suddenly there was a moment when we just sold the film, and it just went crazy, and I never expected that, you know. we never made the film. You know, you always make a film hoping that people see it and people, you know, like it. But I never ever thought it would be, you know, me being here now doing the TV series. It's like, yeah, I'm very grateful. That's what I will say. I'm very grateful.
I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and can't wait for everyone else to have the chance to see Malpractice, I think next week, 23rd.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.